Welcome back to the Tomatoito Boxing Show, and let's talk real brief about Claressa Shields, who just became a heavyweight champion now. She is on a roll, and it doesn't seem like anybody could stop her. Yes, let's get the elephant out of the room, right? Let's discuss that, because the heavyweight division for a long time in women's boxing, the heavyweight division has always been a weaker division, where it's only been a handful of women that have competed in those heavier weight divisions. So it's always been slim pickings. But nonetheless, you got to give credit to where credit is due. Claressa Shields has campaigned at 154, campaigned at 160, at 168. And now went up all the way to what is equal to men's divisions, a light heavyweight. She was 174 and a quarter, but this was the heaviest that there is right now. And she ended up fighting Vanessa LePage, who was the WBC World Heavyweight Champ. The WBO threw in their light heavyweight title, which was vacant. They threw it in the mix. And Claressa Shields has now added 3 titles to her existing collection. That being the WBC World Heavyweight title, the WBF World Heavyweight title, and the WBO Light Heavyweight title. She beats Vanessa LePage in somewhat easy fashion, stops her in the second round. The knockout was sensational, a highlight reel type knockout with a limited fighter who had a lot of holes. And the experience of Claressa Shields continues to expose her opponent's limitations. Her toughest fight by far has been that against Savannah Marshall. At least one of them. One of the tougher fights she's had. But she's very good at picking apart her opponents and their flaws. A wide punching opponent, she'll pick them apart with uppercuts and on the inside. A hesitant opponent that fails to jab, she jabs her way in, throws hooks, looping punches, and eliminates them. If they're taller, she'll take out their body. And she seems to find an answer for every single obstacle that has been presented to her. She now takes 3 more titles to her impressive collection of championship titles and her impressive run as a professional, 2-time Olympic gold medalist, and now has more titles than you can count, or has amassed more titles than you can count with 2 hands. 15-0, 3 knockouts. And for those that don't want to recognize her as the self-proclaimed GWOAT and don't want to recognize her as the GWOAT, the greatest woman of all time, and homage to that of Ali, who was the original GOAT of boxing, at least where the terminology started getting used. She's definitely the most decorated women's boxer of all time. Holly Holm at one point led that charge. Amanda Serrano has amassed titles in more divisions than any other woman or any other professional boxer for that matter. Sorry, she's second to Manny Pacquiao. But as far as women's boxing goes, Amanda Serrano has amassed titles in more divisions than anybody else. As far as titles are concerned, Claressa Shields has collected the most hardware. of anybody. Second round stoppage at the Little Caesars Arena in Detroit. Claressa Shields headlines and closes the show with an impressive highlight reel type stoppage. On the undercard, there was a couple interesting fights. Shojan Ergashev, who was a prior opponent of Subriel Matias, gave him a very, very good fight. Ended up being stopped by Subriel Matias in the 6th round. Was coming off a victory earlier this year in March against Juan Huertas, where he knocked out Huertas in 1 round. And he was on the undercard fighting an up-and-coming fighter by the name of Julian Smith. 140-pound fight. Julian Smith drops Ergashev in the 5th round and goes on to get a split decision win against Ergashev, handing Ergashev the 2nd defeat of his professional career. The other fight that I paid attention to was Michel Rivera, who used to be a lightweight and now campaigning at 140 pounds. His only defeat came at the hands of Frank Martin, where he lost a decision to Frank Martin. He was basically outboxed and outpointed in that matchup, which elevated the stock of Frank Martin. When both of these guys faced off against one another, both of them were undefeated, and it was a hell of a matchup where Frank Martin just looked to be the better fighter of the two. Frank Martin would remain at lightweight. Most recently, we saw him against Tank in June, where Michel Rivera came back to fight Sergey Lipinets, defeated him by unanimous decision November of last year to get back on his winning into the win column. And now he fought Hugo Alberto Roldan, who's a veteran journeyman fighter who came into the ring with a 22-2-1 record. Very, very good fighter himself. And Michel Rivera comes away with the split decision victory over Roldan. One-sided. Michel Rivera put on a great performance. And all the noise that he made when he was at 130 and 135, he's starting to get that traction once again underneath him and behind him. He basically dominated this fight from beginning to end. Competitive at times. But he got the split decision nod. And that was a very, very interesting fight. Those of you that don't remember who Hugo Roldan is, he's fought Jukenbaev, where he lost the split decision in his last outing. He's fought Joseph Adorno. 2 fights with Emiliano Dominguez. He's had really, really good opposition, and he makes these fights really tough for anybody, kind of like a Pedro Campa type style. And the Argentinian has a very good position within the 140-pound division, where he's able to pull off that upset against anybody. With Michel Rivera, he's just a step ahead. And Michel Rivera is starting to line himself up in the 140-pound division, just like he was doing so at lightweight. Maybe we'll see him against a Jose Ramirez or an Arnold Barboza if those two don't end up fighting. But these are the fights that we want to see from Michel Rivera. Roldan is starting to be somewhere, well, I would still think that he's a little bit better than a Pedro Campa or a Steve Claggett. But he's right there, maybe that B level, where Michel Rivera is supposed to be a step ahead. And we'll see, because sky was the limit for him at lightweight, and he got picked apart by Frank Martin. He's right there knocking on the door of next level opposition. We'll see how he does. Dominican fighter. I would love to see him against Subriel Matias. A Dominican-Puerto Rico type slugfest would be amazing, especially with a tactician like Michel Rivera, with a heavy-handed fighter for a bounce-back fight. That would be a perfect fight, in my opinion, Michel Rivera and Subriel Matias. So I leave you guys with that. Quick episode. Congrats to the GWOAT, Claressa Shields, who continues to collect hardware. 3 more titles to her collection. An impressive professional career, an impressive championship run that she has amassed together and put together since turning pro. Congrats to the GWOAT. Can't wait to see what happens with Michel Rivera at 140 pounds. And we move on to bigger, better things. I'll catch you guys on the next episode. Thank you guys again for the continued support, the downloads, for spreading the word. The show continues to grow slowly, and we're gonna continue pushing forward and doing our part to bring you the absolute best content that we're able to do, that we're able to bring you. So thank you guys again. Have yourselves a safe and great night, and I'll talk to you all in the next episode. Take care.